Now, panel on the other side. Let's do this.
Kwanza siwezi achilia story. Ati anaitwa kaka Miujiza.
Anaitwa kaka Miujiza na huyu mwingine.
Kaka Miujiza is Magic Mike.
Yeah, Magic
Brother
Mike.
Magic.
Kaka Miujiza. That's so creative, yeah.
They actually go to City Lighters Church.
Yes.
And their pastor is being ordained today.
Wow,
that's what is happening at the main church at
Hence
PCC.
the suit.
Hence the suit, right?
Yeah.
And the red carpet and the testimonies.
I'm telling you.
So we're going to be having them later on the show. I mean, of course, from Crossover in the Hood.
Yeah.
Watatuambia miujiza yenye wamefanyiwa sasa.
That's
continuing. So I'm on this other side and we're talking about depression, as I said earlier. I have my panelists ready. Karibuni sana. So right next to me I have Anita Ray. She's a radio presenter. And you can wave.
Hi.
That's Anita. I have next to her Emily Wairimu, who's a poet, a spoken word artist to be precise. And then next to her we have Richard Wafula, who is a counseling psychologist from Amani Counseling Center. Karibuni sana. I'm really glad to have you guys in studio. I'm going to start with Emily. We've seen your piece, Unmasked, and the passion in the poem can actually, in the piece, can tell this is somebody who's had an experience and is speaking from experience as well. Would you want to tell us a little bit about it and how it was?
About Unmasked or my experience?
Experience leading to Unmasked. Yes.
Actually, what many people did not know is that the girl behind the mask was me. No, it was just a way of getting the message out there. Now that I know, I realized that the first time I was depressed, I was only 12. Wow. 12 years of age. That's when I had the first 3 times I attempted suicide. I was 12.
You were 12?
I was 12. Wow. Nobody knew what was going on, but I had grown up feeling so worthless and so unwanted. And now that I look at it, I realize that it started when I was very, very young. No, you grow up being told that you should be like your sister, that you should be like this, don't do that. You basically have no life of your own. And I do not blame anyone, because for my mother, I think she had bottled up a lot of bitterness, coming from a broken family and then getting into marriage and things are not working. Yes. So I just happened to be one of those people who would receive it. So every day being told that you're not good enough, and then trying to be, and then you just get to a point that, you know, then at that time, a schoolmate of ours committed suicide. He was in class 4. So we attended the burial, and I saw how everybody cried for him, and that's what I wanted. So
it was finally you were getting that attention.
Yeah, I just wanted to be seen and to be noticed. So I had a fight with my mother, and she just said things that I didn't want to hear. You know, like serious things that you don't really forget. And so I decided, you know what, this is it. I'm going to take my life. So 3 attempts, and I was frustrated. The reason why I stopped is I thought, what if I go and nobody notices that I've gone? So I thought I will be losing in this case. And I think it's just God who used that to actually, in a way, bring sense into me. So I grew up. It resurfaced later on in 2014. I lost my sister, and then my mom fell into depression, serious depression. And it was crazy for everyone. First of all, I had questions, very many questions, like why she died. And I blamed myself, and it doesn't make sense right now, but I felt that if I was strong enough, if I prayed enough, because when I went to see her in the hospital, I couldn't pray. I was just frozen. And so I felt like if I prayed, if I had more faith, maybe she would be alive, my mom would be okay. And then now, the fact that my mom was depressed, she would say things I used to say when I was a child. So it
stirred up the same emotions.
It stirred up everything. And I realized I had so many things that were piled up, and now it was erupting at the same time. So by the time I was doing Unmasked, it was actually God unmasking me and showing me, you know what, darling, you have scars, and I want you to show these scars, and I want you to unmask them and get your healing by doing so. So it's a very long story, but
thank you for shortening it.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to come to you in you know, to just find out, how did you notice you were in depression? What are some of the things that came up and showed you that you were in it? But for you, Ray, Yours is a whole lot of a story as well. We read your story on Instagram. I think you wrote about it in your experience.
I tried to sum it up because it's too long.
Yeah. Could you sum it up for us?
I think I'm still a rebellious kid. You know, those kids who are stubborn, self-driven. So I felt I never fit in. I don't think I still fit in sometimes. And I wanted to do things on my own. I felt my mom didn't understand me, so I ran away from home at 13. I was like, these people don't get me. They don't get me at all.
At 13?
Yeah, I was in high school. I was like, they don't get me. My entire childhood was me feeling like nobody actually understands me. I don't want to be the same with people. I don't like being the same with people. I don't like people to start with. It's weird, very weird. So I wanted to be different. And unlike her, I didn't want to be seen. I didn't like being seen. I still don't like being seen. And so when I ran away from home at 13, I went into the streets. You're living between being helped by people on the street, actually. And it was for 2 years. Then when I was 15, I got into a rape incident. Then that changed my entire life. But between 13 and 15, I tried suicide 5 times. Like, God. The last time I went to church, I told God, like, this is a deal. Like, let's agree. If I don't die today, I'm not doing this ever again, no matter how bad this gets.
The 5th time now.
Yeah. I was like, this has to happen. If it doesn't happen, I'm done.
What were you using, though, for
I
suicide?
took all the tablets at home, like, all of them, all the concoction, and I drank Zot and Cure Church. Like, I was like, I have to die.
So you went to die in church?
Yeah, I went to die in church. It's, I made a deal with God, like, if I don't die in this church today, then I'm not doing this again. And I'm 15, I'm turning 16. Then I didn't die. I was like, are you kidding me, man? My neighbor just took 3 malaria tabs and she died. I'm here with an entire chemist. I am not dying, it doesn't make sense. And so I decided, let's try life. At 17, after high school, I decided to get married. So I got married to someone who's 10 years older than me, who was abusive and really abusive. So I got a son at 19, tried to work on the marriage till I was 21 and a half. I was like, it was a really bad marriage. And I walked away, realized I'm either going to kill him, he's going to kill me, one of us has to die if we stay together. So I walked out. So you're there, you're 21, you never experienced life, you want to experience life. I didn't even know I'm depressed, let's start there. And I have so much baggage. So I decided alcohol is the way to go. And I'm telling you, I drank the entire world out. Then I got depressed to the point I passed out and was in hospital for 6 weeks without waking up. And when I woke up, yeah, I passed out. When I woke up, the doctor gave me an option. He was like, you can drink yourself to death, or you can actually just commit suicide again and die. You just die either way, but you can stop doing this and raise your son. And in 2013, I was like, I was writing for a very long time. I was like, I want to do media, but I don't know where to start. And I realized I have so much in me. I have so much anger, so much pain, so much bitterness. I need to bring it out. So I started writing, doing poems. It helped somehow, but I still went in deeper because I was not getting help. And then the worst thing happened in 2014. I lost custody of my son because I was not in a position to raise him. And I am telling you, I now went back into the hole. I became suicidal. I'm a happy person, so you'll never know. I would sit down, laugh with you people, and then go home and cry myself to sleep. And I'm like, I don't want to wake up. It's 2018. Let me cut the story short. People think I'm over depression. Last month, on May 28th, I collapsed again. And I was the happiest. It's my birthday month. I have a daughter who turned 2. I am literally the happiest person you can imagine. I love my job. Everything is going right. But at the end of the day, when I go back to my house in bed, I can't sleep. I'll be up till 2. I can't stop thinking about my scars. I feel like, why me? I want to use my story to help people, but where do I start? And I'm not fixed. And someone asked me, are you over depression? And I was like, I think I'm still depressed. I just don't know how to say it or deal with it, because we have a problem of looking at people like, I'm a radio presenter, so you're perfect. You can have problems. But we have problems. And sometimes when I go home, that's when I started Mental Health KE on Twitter. I asked people, are you happy? Just that. And it brought up so many emotions. I was really shocked. I was like, people are this unhappy. And people are like, Anita, every time I go to bed, I want to commit suicide.
You don't want to wake up.
And this is the saddest part. Sometimes I genuinely wake up and I'm like, Aki God, me stuck in bed. Like, it's not that you're unhappy or I don't want to die. I'm past that. I have kids to live for. But sometimes you're just tired of the world. And the saddest part is we have so many people who are that tired, but they don't know how to talk about it or what to say. And someone needs to give them a chance to talk. Because we have kids as young as 10 years committing suicide, 5 years. It's because even them feel like nobody's listening. My entire life up to date, I still feel like people don't listen to me. People don't take time to listen to people. You listen so that you can answer back, but you never listen to listen. You get? I tell you something, and I'm not happy. You'll be like, Anita, you have a job, you're getting money. Why are you unhappy? There's someone on the street, but someone on the street is stressed about their own life. I'm stressed about my life. That's what people don't get.
Okay.
So when you talk about depression, I am still fighting depression. I think most people are. Yeah.
All right. Great. What is standing out is that depression is not only for older people. It actually starts even with kids. But it's hard to detect it. And maybe for you, Richard,
yes,
what are some of these signs that you would see? First of all, maybe describe depression.
Right. Thank you, Grace. Depression is actually a condition, medical or psychological, that negatively affects our moods, our thinking, and our way of doing things.
Okay.
You know, unfortunately, is that depression is treatable. Actually, depression is one of the depressive disorders that is treatable. Up to 80% of people going through depression have recovered from it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the good news is it can be treated.
Yes, the good news is that depression can be treated. Yeah. What are the signs,
Yes.
you know, to look for? Depression, when you're depressed, one of the things that, you know, will kind of tell you that you're depressed is that you lose interest of things that ideally you know,
would get you up and running.
Get you up and running.
Yeah.
We are in the period of good season of football, and probably you're a football lover. But all of a sudden, football does not make sense to you, does not excite you, does not, you know, interest you in any way. So as you start to lose interest in things that, you know, before were interesting you and getting you up and running, then that could be a sign. Again, depression will make you feel sad, low moods, you know. You find yourself sad most of the time. Sometimes you may tell what is making you sad, but sometimes you may not really know what is making you sad, but you're in low moods most of the time. The other sign to check for is that to some, by the way, you either have what you call insomnia or hyposomnia.
Okay.
Insomnia, you lack sleep,
Yeah.
you struggle to get sleep. Hyposomnia, you sleep excessively, then that could be a sign. To some, you could be gaining weight or lose weight that is not diet related.
Okay.
You just find yourself gaining weight or losing weight, and that is not related to your diet as well.
Okay.
You also find yourself feeling unworthy. You lose your sense of esteem, your high esteem. You feel unworthy. You feel you're not important anymore. And that could be another sign that you're going through depression. Okay. Important to note is that I know these signs, and many others probably that I'll be mentioning as we go along, is that it has to be persistent for 2 weeks for us to say that you're depressed. It's not that today you're feeling sad.
It's not one time
It's
thing.
not one time. Because, of course, all of us go through sad moments, All of us sometimes feel, low. But if it's persistent for 2 weeks, then there's a need to seek help to determine whether you're depressed or not.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. There's a question I asked earlier. Thank you for setting the foundation on what exactly depression is and the signs. Question is, and this is a thought that has gone through many people's minds. Because you're depressed, you've been cast. It's something that you've done that led to you being like that. Some spiritual people actually say it's because of sin.
Yeah.
You sinned, that's why God punished you with depression. Maybe would you set the thing straight? Is it any way related to punishment from sin, or anything related to a curse?
From the psychological point of view, no. Depression is not as a result of curse.
Okay. So you can't be cast into depression?
You can't be cast into depression.
Okay.
Depression has its causes, as you're going to look at, So it's not, it's not that somebody has cast you into depression. No. Psychological point of view, I don't agree that depression is cast.
Great.
Yeah.
For you, Emily, what were some of the things that you felt led to that? Like, for example, I almost called you Daktari, but it's fine, right?
Yes.
Daktari,
Amen.
Richard talked about the symptoms and the signs of feeling unwanted. But for you, it was also coming from a thought process of, my mom has spoken these things over my life. Yeah. Was it a consistent thing as you experienced as well?
I'd say yes and no.
Okay.
Some of the things that were leading were actually deeper than, if someone says, right now tells you something like what? You're unwanted. If you don't feel unwanted inside of you, it won't really affect you.
It won't bother you, actually.
But if you know that is the truth and that's how you feel, then it affects you. So the things that you take in, even as little as a child, maybe he will clarify, but some children feel rejected from the time they're not even born. So by the time they're coming out, they already know this world is not a safe place. maybe the environment around you when you were still in the womb was very hostile, and the baby senses it. So by the time they're coming out,
up the emotions actually.
They actually do. So by the time you're coming out, most of the kids will be cry babies, and in a way they will be trying to be defensive around them. So that's why you find that some kids are very rebellious, aggressive. You see your kid hitting other kids, your kid doesn't want to hear anything. That's a very big sign that you should actually be concerned about, because if kids have love around them, they respond to it. And if the atmosphere is hostile, then they respond to it. So actually that was actually my case. So I became a crybaby, and so when you're aggressive and a crybaby as well, nobody wants you. So you start feeling rejected at a very young age. So you grow up with it. By the time you're getting to teenage or other things, you don't feel like you're good enough, and then you don't fit in, like she was saying, even with your siblings or people around you. You just want to have your own life somewhere. And again, it doesn't help when you have parents who have an unstable marriage. And as she was saying, as you try to numb the pain, you get into toxic relationships and friendships. So by the time you're a grown-up, you have further issues. You have anger, you have bitterness, you have rejection, all these things, and you have never had an opportunity to speak it out or even know that these are the things leading. So when something like, and then something like death happens, and it throws you
off completely.
Completely. And then you get a relative or a close family who's going through maybe a sickness, a long-term sickness, or something like a mental health issue, and you can't take it. You just can't take it. So at that time, it was a combination of so many things. And then just everything was crumbling at the same time. But I think what I picked out is when God wants to heal you, he will need to, say you want to build a house, and then you realize the foundation is really weak. So what you need to do is, first of all, demolish the house so that you start.
Sort the foundation first.
Sort the foundation. Identity issues. Who are you? Who do you believe you are? What have you been told about yourself? But in actual sense, what does God say about you? Deal with things like, I realize the best way to heal is address the issues. You feel not good enough. Why do you feel that? You feel you're not worthy. Why do you feel that? You have bottled up anger against your father or your mother or whoever hurt you. Some people, it's molestation when you were a child. What do you feel about that person? How will you ever get to forgive? So now start addressing issues face to face. So just all those things coupled up, find they just come at the same time, and you just can't get out. So it's like a peace. It's
like they decide to dawn on you at once.
Yeah, actually they do, because you bottle them up for a long time. It's like a volcano. At some point it will erupt. It will explode. So and then now depression, actually the way I describe it's like life leaking out of you, little by little. So by the time you realize, it's like you have a bottle with holes, and the water is your life. So the more you don't seal it, you get to a point and there's no life inside of you. That's why you want to go.
Contemplating suicide at all times.
Exactly, yes. Yeah.
Great. And I think you've answered a lot of questions that I had in my mind. I was going to shoot to Ray. Because Ray, you spoke about you now, people feeling and thinking maybe you've healed through it because now you have a happy life, you're in another, you have a child and another child. But you still find yourself going back to that. What would you attribute this to?
As she said it, you know, death is not, people think dying is hard, but dying when you're alive is even harder. Because when you don't find, you feel like you don't fit in your own skin. Like, I hate the world we live in today because people have expectations for us. Ray, you have to wear heels. God, I hate heels. Ray, you have to wear makeup. Where do people wear makeup? Well, no offense. I don't get why people feel the need to tell us what to do. Oh, Ray this, Ray that. I really get tired of people. I don't like people, first of all. Because I've learned.
Do you like us now because we're
I don't put it in the. I say that. I say that a lot because I don't like people in a mentality where people want to close you in a box. Let me give a good example. Kanye West is the biggest rapper of all time, right? He busted out at people because he was like, I have given my entire life to you for you to judge me for tripping. And I felt so connected to him. I felt like I would just scream it out. Stop putting people in boxes. If I don't fit in your box, doesn't mean I'm a bad person. I'm just different. My biggest problem, the reason I feel depressed most times, and my closest friends understand, is that I don't date. I haven't dated since 2011 after my marriage. And if someone likes me, I run, Rudisha can't even catch me. And my psychologist says, it's a problem. It's true, I know, but I don't know how to deal with it. I get so scared. Yeah, I get so scared. I'm like, God, what if it breaks my heart? I'm like, and I don't.
So it's the past wounds, like she said.
Yeah, you can't let go. And sometimes I tell myself, you're strong. People look at me as strong. I'm strong, I agree. I'm strong. I am a go-getter. I'm a woman who's carrying all this inside, and at the end of the day, I'm a fixer. I wake up, I fix people's problems. That's what I do every day. But I'm fixing so many problems. I'm broken. Who's fixing my problems? That's the problem with me. And I don't know how to ask for help. I would be dying and just sit there and saying nothing. When I say I don't like people, I'm that kind of person. I'm happy, but I want to be alone. I want to go sit, watch a movie, eat junk food, not talk to people, you know. That's me.
You're an introvert. You like being in your
own
own
people
space.
Get the opposite from me. They think I'm crazy, I'm wild. They're like, I don't like being around that kind of environment. Because most of the times I'm hurting. I've not forgiven people. I've not forgiven my parents. At some point, my mom was angry at my dad, and she vented a lot on me. She was like, you're like your dad. I like my dad. He's my role model. So when you tell me I'm like my dad, is it a bad thing? And it really affected me a lot. Because up to today, I still look at him and I'm like, I want to be him still when I grow up. And at some point, my mom said, you'll never be anything. So sometimes I ask her, when you listen to me on radio, how does that make you feel? Am I something yet? You know, sometimes I actually ask her that in a lot of sarcasm. And she's like, you know, I'm your mother. I'm like, I know, but do you feel like I'm something yet? Do you tell people I'm your daughter? I want to know. Are
you proud of me?
Are you proud of me? Because my entire life you made me feel like I'll never become something. After I left my marriage, people were like, she can't keep a man. Oh, Lord. The negativity that comes with being a single mom. You're going to steal my husband. Oh, society is not nice. And you go to events and people tell you can't come because you're not married. So you see all these small things. When you go home and you close your bedroom door, your kids are asleep, and I have bad insomnia. I can't sleep. So I sit down and I'm like, how do I fix myself? How do I fix this? How do I take away my ex-husband made me feel so unworthy? Who's gonna love you? You don't look good. You had kids, you've grown fat. You know. How do I recover from that? Do you know, weirdly, I started wearing dresses this year. I never felt like I should wear dresses. I was still stuck in that, I'm not pretty. You know, you're still stuck there. And people tell you all the time, but it doesn't get inside your head.
Because your esteem, your
self-identity
is not there yet.
Exactly. That's why people are struggling to look better every day. Because at the end of the day, you're not happy with who you are. And the biggest sign that I was depressed was that I was not comfortable in my own skin. That was my biggest sign. I was not at all. I could not step out and be me. And that was a big sign.
You said being dead when you're still alive.
Yeah, I used to feel like, I hate this body. Like, please give me a better body. You know, I want to be pretty. I want to, all those things. And I think the biggest step for anyone who's depressed, you really have to first love yourself. Because I swear to God, you can't get any help if you don't love yourself first. You need to. That's a big step to actually love yourself.
Great. It's amazing because you guys have gone through it. So anyone who's watching and you're probably going through the same, I hope you identify with them and learn from what they're learning and what their experience has been. And so I want to ask Richard as we wind up, what are some of the stages, or for example, are there stages that depression has? And if they're there, which ones are they?
Yeah, probably just to mention of the causes very fast before I go to the stages. And they have, you know, answered some of the causes of depression. One, depression can be genetically, you know, caused.
Passed down.
You know, yes.
Okay.
Yes. You know, research has it that people who are born in depressive families are more likely to be depressive. Social, environmental factors. We've talked about family conflicts, loss of a job, loss of a spouse, separation, divorce. Just toxic environment could be another cause of depression as well. Personality is another cause. People with low self-esteem are more pre-exposed to depression, because they are pessimists, and for them, they look at life very differently.
And they don't talk about it.
And they don't talk about it as well. So that could be a cause of depression. Yes, stages of depression. We have, you know, mild to severe depression. We have what we call the unipolar. That leads to the bipolar. Unipolar is basically you're just experiencing low moods. And at that point, the signs are not as severe as one can imagine. But if they're not handled, then it leads to what we call the bipolar, which now you experience the manic episodes, and, you know, a lot of the symptoms that we talked about are manifested at that particular point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And so now that we've discovered, because we have to wind up, we've discovered that depression exists. it has stages, it has all the signs and everything. So now once you've discovered or identified, diagnosed that you have depression, what are some of the stages to healing?
What are some of the stages to healing? First, I've always say that it's important to just identify somebody you can talk to about your experience.
Okay.
You know, just have somebody you can, because again, like, you know, they're sharing. Sometimes we actually suffer from depression, but we don't have somebody to talk to, you know. After that, seek counseling, psychotherapy. I mean, depression can easily be managed through counseling session, what we call talk therapy, you know. And as you talk about what has been happening in your life, you get to realize that you're dealing with so many other things that come along with depression. Depression can also be managed medically, and especially the severe cases where, you know, antidepressants are prescribed to the depressed people.
Okay.
And of course, you know, just finding other ways, like having exercises and just finding something, finding reason, positive coping strategies to the stressful events that will ideally lead you to depression.
And also keeping yourself occupied, I imagine, because when you're idle, all this, like she's saying, all this manner of things now begin to come to your mind and all.
For example, her case, you know, what she has been thinking about herself, when she says she's not comfortable in her skin, so what is she perceiving of the real life events that are happening in her life, you know? So then you have to also check what are your cognitive processes. How are you processing, you know, experiences around you will really matter in terms of even supporting you deal with depression or even sinking you further to the manic episodes.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys. I feel like we were in a class, and I hope someone has learned something. And also, one thing they forgot to mention, or maybe with time they would have, is the importance of a support system. And I think this comes with talking to somebody and addressing the issue. Maybe you can even go to your spiritual authority, find a circle of people or someone you can trust and talk to them. And counseling services is actually very, very important, and they're available at many counseling centers. So anyway, there we have it. Depression is real, but depression can be treated. And so don't suffer alone. Don't lock yourself in a house in a dark room and imagine never to get out. Don't die when you're still alive. There's room, and God says it is His will that we prosper, even as our soul prospers. So thank you so much for everyone. Emily, your poet, your spoken word, and I know you have something for us, so you'll be performing later.
Okay.
Okay.